The Bug Bux Podcast!
I think too many people tend to get stuck in this industry where they just can't get out of a truck.
One of the greatest surprises to me in the pest control business has been that you've got to start working on a system to continue to replace yourself.
Like even just scaling it within our homes, like we don't trust our kids to put away the dishes because they're going to do it wrong. You know, we might give certain projects to our employees that we just are afraid that they're not going to do it the same way that we would. In order for us to scale our energy and our efforts and give that same customer experience that we would have given it ourselves, if you can document it and hold people sort of accountable to what you're looking for, then you're going to get such better results.
Part of the problem is, we're worried about documenting something that's imperfect. We're worried about the time that it takes to document something. It's hard for us to sit down and just go through all the steps of something. The way to find out what you're missing from your system is allow them to fail. It's like, oh, he was supposed to loop all the way around, but I didn't tell him how to do that. I didn't tell him that. Brandon spent 12 years as a CPA in public accounting, leading engagements for clients, including the Arizona Cardinals and the Salvation Army, before serving as corporate controller for the All-State Identity Protection Program. He's passionate about building processes and scaling systems that enhance the customer experience. What can a CPA teach a PCO that will impact their business? Hey everyone, welcome back to the Bug Bux Podcast. I'm your host, Allan Draper. Excited for the episode today. We're going to get right into it. I can't believe we've never had him on the show before. And I think it's kind of cool because he told me this is his first podcast recording ever. And I know he's going to knock it out of the park. He's going to surprise you. Here's the thing. You're going to want to listen all the way to the end. What I do now is I do a recap. I do the highlights of the 25 or 30-minute episode. And you're not going to want to miss that. They're the golden nuggets in our conversation, but you're going to want to listen to the entire thing, but don't disconnect, don't hit pause. And if you do, make sure you come back to it. Also, we need to start getting some more reviews. So if you like this episode, leave us a review, whatever platform, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever, Google, whatever. Leave us a review and leave us a comment, not just the stars, but a comment in the review. What it does is it makes pest controllers like you more likely to find the podcast. So anyway, make sure to do that. So Brandon, I'm so excited to have him on the show. He is the owner and co-founder of Mint Pest Control. He's contributed so much to the Bug Bux Facebook group. And so a lot of you recognize the name. Since launching the company in 2020, he has served as a CFO, and he recently stepped into the role of Chief Operating Officer. Before launching Mint, Brandon spent 12 years as a CPA in public accounting, leading engagements for clients, including the Arizona Cardinals. That's awesome. And the Salvation Army, before serving as corporate controller for the All-State Identity Protection Program. He's passionate about building processes and scaling systems that enhance the customer experience. Above all, Brandon considers his most important roles to be that of husband and father of four. So with that, welcome to the show, Brandon.
Hey, thanks, Allan, man. I've been listening to this podcast from probably like episode 5 or 6. And so I've been a long-time listener, and I've actually probably been a fly on the wall listening to all the interesting conversations that you've had over the years. And I've just loved seeing the evolution of the podcast, where you've taken it, what you're doing. And so it's going to be an interesting time to actually have the conversation and be inside the room now rather than just the fly.
That's cool. It's funny because whenever I have like an accounting question, I always seem to tag you in the group. And before I hit the record button, I asked you if this was your first time on the podcast, and you said yes. And it's like, I don't know how that's possible because you're such a good resource. The pest control industry is so cool because we all come from somewhere else. Every once in a while there's a guy that's like, yeah, my dad was in the pest control industry, or my mom or my grandpa or whatever. I was raised in it, started as a technician, but that's like 1% of us. Most of us come, and even they have unique experiences just in different ways. But a lot of us come from different professions. We were salespeople. We did door to door. We did, we worked for retail. We managed teams doing something else, and we kind of fell into the pest control industry. So it's cool to have. I think that's something that makes this industry unique is we have all these people that have these outside skills and we're applying them to pest control and building really cool, effective companies. So,
Yeah, well, 100%. And I've learned so much from PCOs and people who've been in the industry. And I think in a lot of ways that's kind of why I've resonated with your story too, right? We have very similar backgrounds where we both came from sort of, a white collar profession.
yep.
And then we transitioned over to becoming bug guys. That doesn't happen every day, and I don't run into a lot of people who are lawyers or CPAs. And I've just loved every single minute of it. Like this change in my career has been such a powerful experience, and I love what I do now. It's awesome.
Yeah. So, I didn't practice law as long as you practiced accounting. And I always say and I own a law firm. I'm a named partner in a law firm, but I have never billed an hour for the firm. And actually one time I was on a call, it was regarding one of my other companies and my law firm was on it. And there was another attorney that's doing some work for us in another state. And he's like, Allan, make sure to bill for your time. And my partner was like, no, don't bill. We don't need that hour to hit our books because and I don't know. I don't even think I'm on the professional liability insurance or whatever. So I found this niche in being a bug guy, and I say that it's the best professional move I ever made. So,
Well, I wish I had found it sooner, for myself. And in fact, I probably, have always wanted to be an entrepreneur, and probably why I went into accounting to begin with is because I love business. And I thought accounting, and I still think it is today, it's the language of business.
Yeah.
But sometimes, a profession like mine, you can kind of get sucked in where you're pursuing your secondary plan B for a lot longer than you wanted to. And that plan A, that tunnel version of what you wanted to do ends up sort of shrinking. And so I'm glad I eventually got there, and I'm glad I'm here now. But it kind of took me a while to kind of figure it out. And I wish I kind of figured it out when you did.
What's funny is that, so the people that had the hardest time, so I was practicing law downtown Phoenix, and then I started telling different groups of people, my family, my church community, my friends, people I went to high school with, just in normal conversation, like, hey, what's new in your life? The people that had the hardest time understanding what I was doing and why I was doing it were my law school classmates.
Oh, 100%.
They're like, it just blew their mind. They're like, wait a minute, you're moving to Detroit and you're going to be a bug guy? And I'm like, yeah. And I think it was because they were in the trenches with me, man. Law school, it is super competitive. You get and it's a lot like high school. You get little cliques, and they were who I studied with, and we'd share notes with each other, but not with other people. And it wasn't this. It was this zero-sum game, and then going through the bar exam and all of that. And what I told them was, I love practicing law. I love the fraternity, the brotherhood, the socialhood, I should say, of practicing law. But I wasn't going to let something good keep me from something great.
Yeah.
And I think that's, you talked about how, you wish you found it earlier. That I was in the same boat. It was like, because it was so risky. Mm-hmm. So I totally get it.
Yeah. I had the same experience when I talked to a lot of professionals I worked with. And to your point, like I still value the time that I spent in accounting.
For sure.
A ton of, the CFO that I worked for, the mentors that I had, they taught me so much. But I definitely looked at some of the partners that I had worked for in the past, and I didn't want to necessarily have the same life that they did. A lot of them were in situations where their family relationships weren't doing great, and they worked just constantly. And, even from a young age, like I've always wanted to have some sort of financial stability, and I had entrepreneurship on my mind. But I think I also had some insecurities too to go off and start something of my own, because my family relationship, we struggled financially growing up. And it really had an impact in my parents' relationship and even me as a kid. So I wanted something stable, and that's probably why I turned into an accountant. But ultimately, it caused me to delay what I thought was actually something better. And to your point, yeah, it was great. My career was great, and I accomplished a lot. But to your point, like, I wanted to do something a little bit bigger and a little bit better.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what the path I feel like I'm on today. So, which is, that's why I'm having such a great time.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't believe that people truly pigeonhole themselves or paint themselves into a corner, whatever the saying is. Like, you just step through the paint. And sometimes you got to do that. Sometimes it's like, this is what I've done with my life. And this is especially for the listener, right? The pest controller that's like, and it's not just applicable to them leaving the industry or making a career move. It's them changing the direction of their company, them building it a little quicker over the next few years, them getting that financial partner that's going to make a difference, or them getting rid of a partner that they have right now, or whatever it is. It's like, don't let what you've done in the past hold you back from greatness in the future. And it's never too late. I say that a lot because, there's so much because of the Instagram era of FOMO and like, you got to be a, 100 millionaire by the time you're 25 flying around in private jets, or you're not successful. So stupid. It bothers me.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not even about that. It's like, hey, at the end of my days, what's my legacy? What do I leave behind? And so for the pest controller that's listening, fast forward your life 10, 20 years. Don't think about next month. Don't think about the next 6 months. It's like, go after what you're trying to go after, because it's either win or learn, right? And when you learn, you can always pivot. So
yeah. Something you said, this sort of Instagram era that we live in, that what I love about pest control, and especially the Bug Bux group, is it's almost a group that's a lot more humble in the way that they sort of think about a business. Because I'm also in door to door, which you have some experience with as well.
Yep.
And that's a little bit more Instagram worthy, sort of a different mentality in how people think about their success and finances, right? And so there's a lot of celebration. Like, we deal with other door to door guys that, for them, getting a Golden Door award is like the biggest deal, right? And almost a bigger deal than actually being an equity owner in a pest control company. And so even when I got into this space, because of the maturity that I probably had in my career, there were people that I looked up to, and, I still get it today, right? Some door-to-door guy will message in and talk about how crappy our company is, or, how much we're failing. And, I kind of look past that, because I look at some of the guys in the Bug Bux group. These are extremely successful people, many of them, right? And so it was so cool for me when I came in and I had mentors, people like you, Preston, Eric. These are guys that I wanted to emulate and wanted to be like. And so when you have these sort of door-to-door guys who are super successful on as an image on Instagram, or they're up on the Golden Door stage, I just felt like, hey, you have no idea. These are not the people that I wanted to sort of emulate. The people that I wanted to be were you guys, right? The people that were really crushing it in the space. And so I've learned a ton from you guys as I've sort of, applied, a lot of the things that you guys have had to say on the podcast.
That's awesome, man. And that's the thing, is that it's pest control opens so many doors, and there's so many different ways you can take it. So, I mean, I appreciate that compliment. That's a good crowd to be mixed up with. So, and that's what Bug Bux is about. It's like, hey, my oldest is 13. He's about to turn 14. And I talk to him almost every day about who he hangs out with and how that's going to affect his life for the next decade more than anything else, and beyond. eventually he'll have a family, and then that will be who he spends a lot of his time with. But getting those groups. So Bug Bux has been fantastic for this, and just making sure people they have that network, even if it's not somebody they see every day. So let's shift gears a little bit. I'm sorry. No, I want to hear that.
No, I was just going to say, I remember, not too long ago, they had that Clubhouse app, right? Where some of the guys would jump on.
I remember that.
And, people like you, Eric, Preston, the Alta guys, the brothers from Alta would jump on stage and sort of like have this conversation, right? And I would try to join as many of those as I possibly could, because at the time I was still a pretty small companies trying to figure it out. I still feel like I'm small today, right? But I'm now like approaching a stage where I'm starting to get to a size where you guys probably once were. And
for sure,
it still feels the same for me, being the size that we are today than we were when we were, $1 million or 2 million in revenue, right? And yet it still feels like we're constantly still trying to grind and get to that next level. And so being able to take, just those people that were just slightly, ahead of where you were, or it felt like a massive distance, right? Still feels the same today, right? Where I still get to learn from you guys because I don't know what it's like to run the next level of company. And it's awesome. But I get to, be surrounded or rub shoulders with guys like you.
Let me tell you about a problem hiding in a lot of pest control companies right now. Fraction analyzed 125 real P&Ls, and here's what we found. The industry grew, most operators added revenue, but 41% of them, they grew revenue while their margins actually declined. More trucks, more techs, more jobs, and they ended up with less profit per dollar than when they started. This report calls it growth at a cost, and it's happening to nearly half of the industry. As a Bug Bux listener, you can get the Fraction Pest Control Financial Performance Benchmark Report plus a 30-minute clarity call for free. We'll show you exactly where you land versus operators your size. We'll pinpoint the one expense line that's quietly killing your margin, whether it's tech pay, marketing, or overhead bloat. Then we'll help you lock in a single number to focus on so you can stop getting busier without getting richer. Go to fraction.com/BB. That's FRAXN.com/BB, as in Bug Bux, to access the report and see how your numbers stack up. Now, back to the show.
It's cool because it helps speed up the learning curve, but it doesn't take it away.
Right.
Like and part of that is because I think it's for a few different reasons. One, I don't even know all the things I know. It takes a specific situation for me to like know, okay, this is what I would do. A lot of times I give general advice, but the other thing is a lot of the things that I have to say or that I know don't apply to other people's situations. It's different. It's a different market. The things they care about are different. The direction of the company's different. And then there's this aspect of there's a lot that I say that people, they're not going to do it exactly like me anyway. So regardless, even with these resources, the idea is not that you build a roadmap based off of what Bug Bux says. And our Bug Bux Plus community, it's so cool. It's so interactive. And we have people from all walks of life at different levels. And the idea, one of the things in law school that besides my network, besides the people that I met and those relationships that I built for those 3 years and then practicing law, I think the next most valuable thing that I took from it was, and people don't know this, but you don't really learn the law in law school. So when you study for the bar, you graduate law school and then you spend months and pay usually a program to train you on your state specific law. In law school, you're reading cases from New York, Massachusetts, so far from what Arizona law would be. And the reason why you're doing that is because you're not learning the law, you're learning how to apply it. So it's, you take a scenario, all law is, you take a fact set, you apply it to the law, and you develop a conclusion or an analysis. So when in Bug Bux Plus, in our Bug Bux Plus group, in a Bug Bux Facebook group, in my social networks and our other networking and things like that, the idea is not for the conclusion part, because you need the analysis. It's the analogy. So Allan at that size did this. That makes me want to do that. And so the law taught me, like, hey, your fact set is going to change all the time, and the tiniest change makes all the difference in the world. Like, did the person that draft the contract, is that the party that's suing or being sued? Big difference.
Yeah.
So as people listen to these episodes, don't do exactly what Brandon did or I did. Apply what we're saying, like, and in our case, it would be quote unquote the law in this analogy, to your fact set to create an analysis and a conclusion. So that's one of the most powerful skills that I have, is I have this ability to, the fact set changes. And so my advice, like in these Bug Bux groups, we have a Q&A call in just about an hour. Someone's going to ask some questions that I have never experienced before. But there's going to be this conversation about how we can, come up with an analysis and a conclusion. So
I love
let's,
it.
we've been speaking of my background a little bit. Let's speak of yours. So one of the questions that I kind of asked off camera and was going to mention, and I wanted to walk through with you, is what, you bring so much to the industry, and we've kind of covered that. For a PCO, what are some things that come to mind if I say, what can a CPA teach a PCO that will impact their business?
Yeah. I love what you kind of said about your law background, because even with what a CPA knows it's almost a way of thinking, right? When similar to you, right? When I went through school and I started my first job in my career I was at a public accounting firm. And what I really learned there was how to learn. Most people think that a CPA, a lot of people say, oh, you must be really good with numbers, right? And fair enough, I am, but I'm not. It's not like I'm an engineer, right? I'm not doing, anything beyond algebra. It's really trying to discover what those numbers really mean within financial statements. And so my job, before this, I was actually in audit, and I was working underneath other professionals who were reviewing my work papers. And so typically what we would do is we would go inside these companies. So let's picture the Arizona Cardinals, for example, is we would get crammed into a tight audit room where we were, sort of shoved into, they try to put you in the smallest, most uncomfortable space possible so that they can get you out of there as quickly as possible. But we're around this conference desk with our laptops shoulder to shoulder. And for us, we were just over, we were actually working over where the players would work out. And so their music's just cranking up, and we're trying to work through these stressful sort of situations and try to get our work done as quickly as possible. But you're doing a lot of writing. You're writing a lot of processes, and you're actually trying to describe what it is that you're doing. And so you might go in and review their financial statements, and ultimately your goal is to make sure that those financial statements are accurate and free of material misstatements. And so when we go in, we would sort of document those processes to say, hey, this is what we're doing in order to verify that these are free of material misstatements. These are accurate numbers. I think business is a lot of the same, right? I remember when I first started, and I would go to my senior person, the person I reported to, every time I had a question, right? And I would just go to her, I tap her, hey, what do I do here? What do I do there? And finally, she had to pull me aside and say, hey, listen, Brandon, anytime you have a question, just write it down, right? Go ahead and make a list of those of what your questions are. And then we can sort of circle back and we can go through all that list. And so part of it's just like, you're going to run into challenges as a PCO, and you're going to have a network of people to go to. And if you're going to them with every single time that you have just the littlest of questions, it's trying to figure out, what do you do when you get stuck? What do you do when you need to learn something? Where do you go? We have so many more tools and resources today than we've ever had, right? You think about Bug Bux, it didn't exist when you were around. You think about things that we have tools-wise, like we have, people can write emails through ChatGPT now, right? That didn't even exist when I started a pest control company. There's so many resources and tools. And so part of it's just figuring out, what do you do when you get stuck? And so that really helped me. And then, obviously, when you're looking at running a successful business, you have to make sure you're in a good business. I think one of the things that we take advantage in the pest control space is pest control is a good business. It's a really good industry to be in. It's a service-based business. It has recurring revenue.
Mm-hmm.
The margins are really awesome. Sometimes comparable to software companies and other high margin businesses. And so there's a lot of room for mistakes to be made in pest control. And so it's a great business. It's a reason why I love it. We've made tons of mistakes and we've had great margins and a great business to sort of, clean some of those up. So that's just a handful of things. Like, I don't think you have to worry too much about the numbers per se. It's just the processes that you're trying to drive forward. And also, as you try to scale your company, how do you sort of teach somebody to do some of the things that that they're taking over for you, right? I think too many people tend to get stuck in this industry where they just can't get out of a truck, or they are unwilling to sort of relinquish some of the things that they do.
Yeah, for sure. The processes, a lot of people they feel hesitant to document or create systems because they know their processes aren't perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, hey, you're not carving this in the stone tablets, right? Like,
yeah.
you've got to start working on a system to continue to replace yourself. You mentioned how people have a hard time getting out of the truck. One of the greatest surprises to me in the pest control business has been that. And usually when there's a company that calls me and they're, an owner and he's trying to scale his company and he's stagnant, he's like, I've tried everything. And I always ask him, like, hey, what did you drive to work today? They're like, what do you mean? What did I drive? What vehicle did you drive to work? Was it a pest control truck? 9 times out of 10, it's like, yep, it was a pest control truck. But I'm not doing any services. I'm not doing any reservices. I'm like, I tell you what, you give me a call back when you stop driving that to work. I think as people, as they accept that people aren't going to do, how do I say this? They'll do as good of a job potentially, but they're probably not going to care about your family-owned business like you do. And that's not a knock on them. It's like, do you care about like the things that they do outside of work as much as they do? It's like, no, but the goal isn't to be perfect. But I get the sentiment because we put our blood, sweat, and tears into this. Some of us want to leave our companies to our children or create a legacy in other ways or whatever. Like, I get it. It's personal. But if you want to scale, like, you have to replicate systems, and those systems are going to be imperfect, and you have to replace yourself.
You do. And sometimes I even forget to do this at home, right? Like I was just teaching my son how to mow the lawn a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And we have a riding lawnmower, right? We're not
Nice.
in Arizona anymore, where we just have these small yards. We're in Louisville, Kentucky, and so we live on an acre property, and part of our property has a little bit of a hill, and so we have this 0-turn lawnmower. And I could tell my son was pretty nervous about getting on there and having to ride this thing. And he's 14 years old, and he's pretty close to getting his permit and starting to drive a car. I was like, if you can't drive a lawnmower, you can't drive a car yet. So I wanted some practice here. And so I'm trying to give him some directions. I'm giving him instructions about how to get this thing started, lifting the choke up and churning it from turtle to rabbit sort of thing. And I can just see he's sort of staring off into space. He's not really listening to me. And I'm finally like, okay, let's just jump on this thing. Well, as he kind of gets in and he starts kind of maneuvering this lawnmower, he gets it started, and sure enough, it's like 10 times harder to communicate after this lawnmower starts going, right?
Uh-huh.
And it isn't until he starts moving along and he starts, riding off that I'm just like, hey, there's probably like 5 or 10 more things I need to tell him about this process. And that becomes a lot harder to communicate because I forgot even what it was, because I hadn't like documented the process or anything. It just came naturally to me to mow the lawn every single weekend, right?
Yeah.
And so there's like 5 or 10 things that I need to communicate to him, and yet we have a barrier now of being able to communicate. And so even then, I think it was a little shaky at first. The lines are super crossed. There's pieces of grass that are poking up in between rows.
Yeah.
And sure enough, like at the end of the session, after he's done with it, like we kind of went through some areas. Hey, son, like this is areas that we could use a little extra TLC. But at the end of it, it was just like, hey, son, you did an awesome job. And he was super proud of himself. And sure enough, each week he's sort of gotten better at doing this. And so sometimes, like even just scaling it within our homes, like we don't trust our kids to put away the dishes because they're going to do it wrong. Or we might give certain projects to our employees that we just are afraid that they're not going to do it the same way that we would. And ultimately, in order for us to scale our energy and our efforts and give that same customer experience that we would have given it ourselves, they're not, employees aren't going to care the same level. You're going to have a different sort of way of thinking about things. But if you can document and hold people sort of accountable to what you're looking for, then you're going to get, such better results.
Yeah. And I think part of the problem is, we're worried about documenting something that's imperfect. We're worried about the time that it takes to document something. And then it's hard for us to sit down and just go through all the steps of something. The way to do it is you do it while you're riding the lawnmower, while you're mowing the lawn. It's like, hey, what do I do? Step by step. Because sometimes the thing that reminds us about step 5 is step 4. It's like, oh, yeah, that's right. Like, and there's still going to be gaps. There's going to be stuff that you're doing subconsciously and you're doing intuitively. And it's like, the way to find out what you're missing from your system is allow them to fail. It's like, oh, he was supposed to loop all the way around. And the reason why he missed this entire part of the lawn is because he didn't loop all the way around. But I didn't tell him how to do that. I didn't tell him that. So, it's an important aspect.
Yeah, and we're dealing with that right now with our company, even to where we are. Because, you got to a point where you were trying to scale and get to a certain size before you even felt like a real company, for us at least, right? And it's been recent in the last few months where I've transitioned, where I've been more the CFO role, but I've probably spent 80% of my time with door-to-door. We've brought on a president of sales who now oversees a lot of that. And I've migrated into the COO spot recently. And so now there's a lot of adjustments that we're making operationally as we think about the customer experience and sort of look at it from a different lens. And so we're making some adjustments today, right? We're actually doing a lot of things differently as we think about a customer experience perspective, rather than just like, hey, we do pest control, because our customers think about things differently. Our leadership team, actually, we recently are reading a book that I recommended, I think at Bug Bux to my table. It's called Excellence Wins. It's by Horst Schultz. And this is the guy that is kind of attributed or responsible for the customer experience that you think about customer service for Ritz-Carlton. He's actually the same guy that was consulting with Chick-fil-A when they came up with the my pleasure, sort of response that you hear all the time. And so this is a fantastic book in terms of thinking about people's experiences from a customer lens and how you can sort of provide an experience. He sort of relates it to the hospitality industry. And so right now we're doing the same thing, and we're trying to, document all of our all of our processes around providing that kind of experience for our customers.
Yeah, it's, that's the thing, is that it really comes back to their goals. Like for the PCO that's listening, what are your goals? Let's start there. If you're like, hey, me and my wife won't run the company. We're not really trying to scale. We're not really trying to hire anybody. There's no problem. Like I think you still need systems, and I still think you need to document them. But if it's not, hey, I'm replacing myself every 2 months, and then I go do something else, and then I'm replacing myself, then you have to have the systems. Like I always hear like hey, this is if I get hit by a bus. This is if I get hit by a bus manual.
Yep.
And even for somebody like me that has a lot of people within the organization doing most of the stuff, where there's not a lot of the day-to-day that depends on me, probably zero. There's still like, hey, what is my process for finding a CEO? What are my requirements? And getting those documented. So, hey, Brandon, we're 35 minutes in almost. And like, I still have all these questions for you. And so we'll have to hold those for another day. But, this is such a cool conversation about, we started talking about the different skill sets that people bring into the pest control industry that are coming from other areas. And for the PCO, like, hey, how do you apply that? How do you apply information that is not exactly like your scenario in order to make good decisions for your company? And a lot of it is, hey, we're going to try stuff and we're going to see what works, and we're going to test it, and we're going to fail, and then we're going to get better, and we're going to fail, and we're going to get better. And then success is inevitably going to come. And then we started talking about your skill set and what you bring as a CPA, and, building these systems that allow you to scale. So, Brandon, incredible episode. This is one where, I'm listening to this driving. That's the one liner. That's not this episode. This episode is, you got to listen to it again. Go back and listen to it again, and listen to it while you're sitting in front of your computer or with a pen in your hand. And how does this apply to your business to help your business grow and your business get to the goals that you're trying to hit for it? So again, appreciate your time, Brandon. We'll have you back on a lot sooner than never, since this is your first time on. So appreciate you. And wish you guys and Mint nothing but success. Continue helping those people. There's a lot of people that look up to you, a lot of people that you help within the Bug Bux community. And you're always going to be my go-to for accounting questions and setting me straight. I have a list in my mind of all the things that you've set me straight on over the years. So thanks for that. Appreciate you, and wish you tons of success in the future.
Awesome. Thanks, Allan, for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to the Bug Bux Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please show your support by subscribing and leaving us an honest 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you, and we'll catch you on the next episode.